There are lots of people out there, lots of people, who believe that a particular defendant may not be guilty of this particular crime, but he's probably guilty of a lot of other stuff, and for that reason, we don't feel too bad about his going to prison. One just can't take that attitude. Maybe in a cosmic sense it's true, but that's way beyond what our function is in the judicial system. We're there to look at the facts, like Joe Friday said, just the facts, ma'am, and try to come up with the truth and justice. And you can't say, well, this is a bad guy across the board, so we're going to put him away for that reason. The fact is, there's really no difference in whether a police officer is protecting his own mental integrity, his own ego, by perjuring himself, or if he is maliciously perjuring himself on a stand. The effect is absolutely the same. This is information that becomes facts and evidence as far as the court's concerned, and it's going to be prejudicial to the defense case in either instance. Obviously, irrespective of a police officer's motivation, if he perjures himself, he's going to hurt somebody pretty bad. The likelihood of what he has to say having an impact later in the case can be very high. Whatever a police officer is tasked to do, he's going to only be able to rely on the skill set that he's developed experientially to perform it. And things have changed a lot over the years. Whereas at one time we used a very manually oriented fingerprint system, now it's highly automated, and it changes things considerably. The emergence of DNA evidence analysis has had a profound effect on law enforcement, and the point I'm getting toward is that if an officer is not familiar with and conversant with these things, and moreover capable of actually putting them to use in the field, he's behind the curve. He's not going to do the same kind of job that a professional would be doing or expected to do, and to be able to support that in court. Many of the things that 35 years ago made a lot of sense and were taken as very accurate pieces of evidence have turned out not to be. For instance, microscopic hair analysis. We used to rely pretty heavily on that. Now we know that DNA analysis shows contrary evidence in many, many cases. It's been a wonderful advent in law enforcement as far as I'm concerned. So these guys are stuck in the past, and unfortunately what they do in these photo lineups and in other procedures can have extremely far-reaching consequences and translate into a conviction that may very well be wrongful. Lost evidence is a primary cause of some convictions, and unfortunately the jurors are not even aware very frequently that there was evidence that didn't get presented because it was lost. Police departments are pretty conscientious in trying to keep a hand on evidence and follow procedures, but for some reason it does happen, and it happens more frequently than one might suspect. The cost, again, to the defendant can be astronomical in terms of years and suffering. I think one really unfortunate aspect of modern society is that Hollywood gives us a very unrealistic portrayal of what forensic scientists and investigators can accomplish. The truth is you can't solve a crime in an hour. You can't even solve it in a few days, generally speaking. And for somebody to sit down at a computer and come up with all this off-the-wall information that's accurate to the nth degree about someone is not just unrealistic. It's foolish to believe something like that. But however foolish it may be, this is probably in the mind of people who are selected for jury. They're sitting here ready to make judgment on evidence that they're probably never going to see because it's not available in the real world. And if it is available, it's probably going to be of an entirely different nature than it might well be on television, where they present something as being absolutely factual in 3 seconds. Well, what I know about jailhouse snitches is probably what most people know intuitively, and that is that if someone in jail is offered a deal to reduce his sentence or provide some kind of favor for him, even if it's a pack of cigarettes, he may be willing to give false information in a court of law. And I think that is beyond a travesty. So you've got to ask yourself, really, how many people have been convicted that are in fact innocent, and if we were able to take a look at the DNA, which in a lot of cases we can't anymore because the evidence doesn't exist, how many people are languishing away in prison cells because of faulty science? The numbers, I have no idea, but I would suspect there are quite a few.